Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating career pivot that's kind of hidden in plain sight. This whole insight comes directly from Rob Kennedy's Av Geek in Residence series. If you don't know it, it features over 50 brilliant articles exploring all these lesser-known aviation jobs for folks from pretty much any background. Specifically, we're looking at Volume 46, which focuses on a role you might literally have never considered, but one that is absolutely vital to keeping the whole world flying. We're talking about the aviation corporate trainer. Imagine this for a second. You've spent years standing at the front of a classroom. You absolutely know how to teach. But suddenly, you're facing total burnout, or maybe worse, your position just disappears entirely. It's a devastating reality for so many educators right now. So what exactly comes next? Well, you might think your highly specialized skills only apply to traditional schools, right? But what if your next classroom isn't a school at all? What if you traded the schoolyard for the runway and stepped into this massive, multifaceted training ecosystem of the aviation industry? Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our flight plan for today. We're going to start with a new kind of classroom, look at how aviation runs on training, take a tour of the aviation ecosystem, discuss teaching the company culture, and finally, rethink your job search. Section 1, a new kind of classroom. So, if you make this career leap, obviously the environment and the students are going to radically change, going from teenagers to working adults. But the fundamental mechanics of good teaching, they never do. Explain, demonstrate, practice, assess, coach, and repeat. If you're a teacher, this loop is literally baked into your DNA. You do this on autopilot. And what Rob Kennedy highlights so clearly is that the aviation ecosystem desperately needs people who can execute this exact 6-step teaching loop. I mean, they have the highly technical manuals. What they need are the people who can actually transfer that knowledge into another human being's brain. Section 2, aviation runs on training. So the crucial point is, when we think of aviation training, our minds almost always immediately go to pilots in flight simulators. But honestly, pilots are just the tip of the iceberg. The entire industry relies on a crucial training trifecta: safety, compliance, and performance. These three elements run through virtually all training regardless of who the employer actually is. It might be an airline, an airport, a ground handling company, a private contractor. The classroom will be different, sure, and the subject matter will definitely be different. But that core mandate to ensure safety, compliance, and performance, it requires the exact same continuous need for good teachers. Section 3, touring the aviation ecosystem. Picture yourself walking up to the front doors of a major international airport. Right inside the doors, boom, you hit passenger service. Think about the ticket and gate agents. Their jobs are incredibly fast-paced and so complex. As a trainer, you gotta teach check-in procedures, boarding protocols, strict baggage requirements, how to handle passengers with special needs, travel documentation, dangerous goods awareness, security procedures, complex departure control systems. It is a dizzying amount of information that these frontline workers have to process flawlessly, all while managing these huge, long lines of stressed-out travelers. Well, let's just slow down for a second here. Look at this quote from the International Air Transport Authority, or IATA. A safe and efficient air transport system is dependent on a competent workforce. This isn't just about teaching customer service with a smile, folks. It is about safety. Whether the job title is customer service agent or something else, these employees have to be trained for the exact functions they perform to keep dangerous goods off planes and make sure the whole system doesn't just break down. And somebody has to teach them all of that. Now, let's step onto the aircraft itself. Cabin crew. Ever since the dawn of the airline industry, back when early stewardesses were often registered nurses, the safety responsibilities in the cabin have been absolutely paramount. And the training here is incredibly intense. We are talking about a curriculum covering rapid evacuations, advanced first aid, handling explosive cabin decompression, and literal firefighting at 30,000 feet. No joke. As the FAA clearly states, a flight attendant's main duty is to keep you safe. And as their trainer, your job isn't just to hand them a manual and tell them to read it. No way. You have to explain the procedure, demonstrate the procedure, and then make them practice it. You observe, you correct, and you make them practice again. You are the person ensuring that this cabin crew can actually perform these life-saving duties when seconds matter most. You practice until it's perfect. Let's move up to the cockpit now. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why corporate trainers are absolutely essential, even for highly skilled professionals. I mean, pilots already know how to fly. That's a given. But joining an aviation company means learning how that specific company operates. You have to teach them company policies, standard operating procedures, crisis management, and this massive concept called crew resource management. This covers things like decision-making, fatigue, and teamwork to prevent catastrophic miscommunications. Because knowing how to fly the airplane is one thing, knowing how the organization expects you to operate it within their system, that's an entirely different ballgame. Now, go downstairs to the tarmac. This is ground operations. It's incredibly loud out here. It's chaotic, and it's packed with heavy machinery. We're talking about baggage handlers, ramp personnel, cabin cleaners, and turnaround teams. They're facing intensely complex operational growth, high-risk procedures involving aircraft weight and balance, ramp safety, and they're working directly around highly combustible jet fuel. The stakes out here on the tarmac are massive. IATA actually notes that today's ground operations require new transferable skills because of rapid technological and regulatory changes. Things like the introduction of electric tugs or new digital load balancing software mean procedures are constantly updating. And this connects directly to you, the career pivoter. Because different jobs have different risks and different procedures, the industry demands adaptable teachers who can take these highly technical, brand new procedures and break them down for teams working under immense time pressure out on the tarmac.
Section 4. Teaching the company culture.
So we need to shift our focus for a minute from what is taught to how it's taught. The trainer is very often the very first employee-facing face of the entire company. Look, executives in boardrooms can talk all day long about teamwork, respect, and a can-do culture, but let's be real, those words mean absolutely nothing to a cabin cleaner working a shift at 2 a.m. in the freezing cold. It's the trainer who makes those concepts real. By listening, respecting the experience in the room, and understanding that company policy sometimes collides with operational reality, a good trainer builds actual competence, confidence, and trust. What you're really doing is building a culture where psychological safety exists. You want an employee to feel comfortable looking at a piece of equipment, pausing, and saying to their manager, something isn't right. Because if you do training badly, the training room just breeds cynicism. But if you do it well, you ensure employees never feel foolish for speaking up about a safety risk. You aren't just teaching policy, you are fundamentally teaching them what kind of company they work for. Let's move to and see how this builds into your own career path. Where do you fit into all of this? What if you're already a teacher? Maybe you taught elementary school or high school or vocational tech. You might be watching this explainer right now thinking, I don't know the first thing about aircraft weight and balance. Section 5. Rethink your job search. Here's the thing. The aviation industry is embracing all sorts of new technologies, virtual reality, e-learning, you name it. But one unshakable truth remains. Good teaching is still good teaching. As an educator, you are uniquely trained to reach different people in different ways. Some of your trainees will need to hear an oral explanation. Some need a visual demonstration. Others just need to get their hands on the equipment and physically practice. You already know how to read a room, recognize the person who is struggling, pivot your approach, and try again until learning actually happens. You already possess these immense transferable skills. You know how to teach, you just need to learn what to teach next. And the aviation subject matter, that can absolutely be learned. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is it completely opens up your career horizons. Rob Kennedy suggests that if you are looking to pivot, do not just type teacher into a job board. Instead, you want to screenshot or memorize these terms. Search for corporate trainer, training specialist, instructor, learning and development, training coordinator, or instructional designer within aviation companies. You're going to discover a massive world of commercial education careers that you likely didn't even know existed. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a thought. You don't have to leave your passion for education behind just because the traditional system isn't working for you right now. There is a massive, exciting world out there that desperately needs your ability to communicate, assess, and coach. Your next classroom might just have a Boeing 777 parked right outside the window. The only question left is, what will you teach next?